Good morning, class. Okay, good. Okay, good. I know you can hear me clearly, and I hope you can also see me. Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone. All right, so I know you've done the introductory part of this course, and I'm very sure you were able to get enough from it. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, then you can hear me. Thank you very much. So, like I was saying, I'm sure that you actually got things from the introductory part, because when it comes to this course, the introductory part is very, very important. Like I told one of the class rep that came around, um, like I told you that I told him the test that we are going to be, that probably, I'm not saying you cannot go online, you can go online to make your research and all. You can do wide research and all. And again, it's good to have a text. There is a textbook called Commercial Law in Nigeria. You can get that in the Faculty of Law, but then you can also get copies in the law library. At the law library, when you get to the law library, you can get a copy there and read. You know, the title is Commercial Law in Nigeria, edited by E.O. Akonki. E.O. Akonki. I'm sure the class rep will send it to all the other class reps and you all will have it. Okay? So that you can prepare yourself ahead of class, because it's actually, normally law is an interesting topic because it has to do with human generally. It's what you see every day. It's not abstract. All right. So, but because of the technical aspect of it, it is always good to read ahead of class. Okay? So that by the time you get to the class, you'll be able to grasp what the lecturer is saying better. It sinks in, and by the time you are reading, you'll be able to flow. Now, they are going to be teaching you the introductory part. All right. So we're actually not, it's not meant to be like what will be too burdensome for you to go through and understand. Okay? So then I like us to just go straight. So the topic we are having today is on the law of contract. What we're having today is on the law of contract. So what is the law of contract? The central purpose of the law of contract is to impose a duty on parties. Number one, duty to carry out their respective promises, and also the consequences that follows if those promises, when it comes to contract, are not carried out. And also, we also will be treating the discharge of contract. That is, if after either of the party actually has carried out their promises, we are going to treat how they will be discharged, and each party can go all on themselves, by themselves. Now, generally, when you enter into a contract with anybody, let me say, for example, being a student, you went to the butchery or to a mini supermarket around the corner, decided to buy a pen, paid the money, and they didn't give you the pen which you paid for. Maybe the woman was saying, maybe you didn't give me the money, he lied or something. You will really be vexed. You'll not be happy with that. And in fact, at times it's not really about the money, because a few people may say, is it not just 20 naira? There's more to it than just the money. All right. So we are going to be treating all the aspects of contract. And I want you to really, I want you to participate and as well be attentive. So, by definition, contract can simply be defined as an agreement made between two or more competent parties, which the law will then enforce. Okay? So one of the very important aspects of contract is that the law will enforce it. Is the provision that says the law will enforce it. Like the example I gave you earlier, if you buy a biro and you paid for a biro, you are not paid. In that, we would see that it will be all in the ingredients of contract to be there, all the elements of contract. We are going to be explaining that as we're doing this, what the elements of contract are. Now, with all those elements present in that contract, then it means that all the party must perform their role. If the woman or the man decide not to give you the pay, then it is backed up by the law. And of course, within this campus, we also have our law. We have people we can complain to, even without going to court. You can go to the SUB, the student union building, the student union government. You can go to the Senate building. You can go to your department, or you can even go to whoever that heads that market, or whoever that heads the vicinity. That means it is backed up by law. Law say, you can always have something to rely on, especially if you have a witness around you. Okay? So in essence, what distinguishes a contract from a mere agreement is the ingredients of the law. The fact that the law backs it up. The law, there's a remedy, there's a succumb to the law. That's the difference. Now, I want you to have it there. We have mere agreements. There are times you just, on a normal day, you just make an agreement with somebody that, I'm going to, you have no duty to perform it. Understand? So it is not just a mere agreement. So I would say, what distinguishes a contract, for those that would like to maybe have something scribbled, you may want to write a few things down. So what distinguishes a contract from a mere agreement is the fact that if one of the parties fails to honor or discharge its promise, the other party may take legal action. Like I said, you can decide to go and report the person. Now, if you have any concern as regards this class, maybe you can't hear me clearly, you like to write some things down, but you want me to be slow, let me know in the chat, okay? So that we can all move together. All right. So a contract is therefore an agreement and something more. Like I said, there's an agreement, but in contract, it is more than agreement. It's something that will be backed up by the law. All right. Let's say, for example, in your room, you sat down in the room, and a friend of, maybe you don't have a class there that day. So a friend of yours just called you that, I'd like you to buy something for me, because of course we normally have some vendors that comes around. When the vendor that sells this comes around, please, I'd like you to buy this for me. That is an agreement. You have not given your roommate money. Most of the times, the distinguishing factor is always consideration. That is money. When there's something to, maybe you actually you lose something in the process of agreeing with that person. That person is obliged to do whatever you say they should do because you have lost something. You have given that person something. All right. So you're just leaving the room. Please, I'd like you to help me purchase this from the vendor coming around. That is a mere agreement. But then it becomes a contract. If you say, oh, Tade, I want to buy a phone. Tade owns a phone which he wants to sell. Then you can also always say, oh, I'm giving you 20,000 naira. Tade will say, oh, when I come back from class, I'm going to give you the phone. Now, if Tade comes back from class and didn't give you the phone, you can always find succor, refuge under the law because the law backs you up. There is consideration, all right? Okay, so let's move ahead. I like us to just look at okay. I like us to look at the principle of contract. That is the nature of contracts. What is the nature of contract? If you see something, like I've said, I've been saying an agreement is quite different from a contract. A mere agreement is quite different from. I'm not saying that a contract is not an agreement. A contract is an agreement, but it is more. All right, it's always backed up by the law. All right, and also now I want us to talk about what really is the law. How will you be able? Well, what really is contract? How will you be able to say, oh, this is contract, that is not contract? Okay. So for the person that's going to take the attendance, when it's time to take the attendance, I will inform you. And I would like you to also indicate on the chat that you hear me properly and that you're about to do it or you've done it. But then not now. I'm going to alert you when the time comes. All right. So the principles and the nature of contract. We have principles of contract. So the knowledge of such principle of contract is very important because that is how you will know if during exams you are given a problem question, you'll be able to know, oh, this is a contract, it's just an agreement. And also, when you start working, when you get, maybe you start working, you leave the school, you graduate and you start working, you'll be able to know, oh, this is just a mere agreement. Oh, what I've done now is a contract. Okay. So these are the things. I have 3 things. Number 1, contract is consensual in nature. I mean, it has to be with the consent of the both parties. Contract is consensual in nature. All right. Unlike certain branches of the law, such as criminal law and the law of tort, where duties are imposed by the law, a contract arises through voluntary agreements of the parties. If parties do not agree, then there is no contract. All right. So then you can in short say contract is consensual in nature. Now, what I just read now is saying that when it comes to criminal law, for a criminal to be arrested, he doesn't really have to agree that I have done wrong or what. The law says what you've done is wrong, they would arrest you. Then that's criminal law, then start the procedures and all. Okay? Unlike the law of contracts, you cannot say to have done something wrong unless you have consented to that thing, to that agreement. A friend can't just come to you now and say, come, because your mommy did this to me, or because your colleague took my biro, then I'm going to take your home biro. No, it's not done. You are not a party to that. Although at some point we are going to be treating something that seems like that, but then yet it still have to be in consent to such an agreement. You have to have a form of relation to such a contract, all right? But then as it is, If you have not consented to something, then you cannot be said to have agreed to enter into such a contract. Then number 2, freedom to contract. Everybody have a freedom to say, I am entering it, I want to be a party to this contract or not. All right. Everybody have the right to say, I'm going to be a party to this contract or not. All right. So to a large extent, a party is also free to decide the acceptable terms of which is prepared to enter into a contract with the other party. You know, there's something unique about contract. When it comes to the contract, the both parties are the lawmakers in that contract. They are the ones that will say, oh, this is the things that binds us. Oh, I'm going to buy this phone from you. But then I want my phone to be blue color. I want a blue color. The other party can also say, oh, I want it in dollars. I want my payment to be made in dollars. I want my, you are both making the laws. You have freedom to state the terms of the contract. So then contract by nature is as a kind of, it is free in nature. For you to enter into a contract, you have free will to state the terms. All right. Okay. Let's say, for instance, a party may choose to sell a property that is worth 1 million naira for 1 naira. Okay. It is by his choice. He has freedom to do whatever, in as much that there is no fraud involved. There is no form of mistake involved. There is no form of misrepresentation involved. Then that party can make the contract freely. So the law is therefore not concerned with the quality or the fairness of the deal that is struck. You know, a few of the times, for some of us that actually like to price items, you know, at times you price some items and you yourself, you'll be feeling guilty, and you'll be like, so really, it's not fair on this man that I bought this thing for. It's so cheap, especially on days that they've not made enough sale. Some of the time they tend to even sell items. I mean, those vendors, they tend to sell items at the actual price, at the actual amount. Okay. So then, like I said, you may be feeling guilty as a person that, oh, I have cheated this person. No, you have not done anything wrong. The person in their free will. It's not as if you went there, you went to force them, you said you made some threats or something. So then it's a free will. They freely gave you the items. And it's not at times you bought an item, you as a person. Some people that don't price, they don't price items. You just go there, you purchase an item. It may be expensive than what a friend has bought. You can't go back there and say, oh, that thing is sold for me, I want to return it because it's too expensive. You bought it in your own free will. You can actually go there and say, oh, this item is bad, with reasonable reasons, that are actually tenable, but not that, oh, you bought it with your free will. It's not as if you were forced to buy it. Okay. So then that's another nature of contract, which is freedom. The third nature and the last here is that it has objective standard. It has objective standard. Now, the determination of whether or not there is a contract and the terms of the contract are determined by what the parties have manifested physically in writing, orally, or by conduct, and not their subjective intention. All right. What it means in general is that you cannot say because you are thinking, somebody may be thinking something in your mind, then that is the position of your contract. That is a lie. Actually, contract can be entered into by conduct, but not by intention. Not that, oh, in my mind, I want to buy this phone. In my mind, this person, I know this person is thinking this thing. Oh, you have entered into contract, you want to buy a phone from a friend. And you both had agreed that, oh, the price is going to be this, you are going to give me, of course, there are some that are some things that are important. You want a phone, you have dictated that, oh, I want a Samsung phone when you are coming, please. You cannot say in my mind, this person I want to buy phone with knows. Thank you, this person. Yes, I was supposed to play the recordings. Okay, like I'm saying, you cannot say that, oh, this person knows because this person is my friend or is my roommate. He knows I like pink color. So in your mind, you're already contemplating that this person knows I love pink color. So because he knows I love pink color, so then he will bring that thing for me in pink color. It is not done. Please excuse me. Okay, can you hear me now, please? Please, can you hear me? All right then. So like I'm saying that the objective standard, you cannot say because this person knows, you are thinking in your mind that this person knows that I use pink color, then this person will know how to get a pink colored phone for me. No, it's not done. You need to say it. It's something that will be objective. What a common man on the streets will agree to be the right thing. Let's assume there's another person going around that you can just call that, please, I tried to buy a phone from this friend. Don't you think my friend should know that I want a pink color? That person, a common man will say, please, did you tell your friend to get a pink colored phone for you? You should have said that, all right? So that is the objective standard. The court will not take cognizance of an unexpressed intention, all right? So if a reasonable man observing and interpreting what the parties have manifested would not have understood such intention, so such intention will not have been seen as objective. It will have been seen as a subjective intention, okay? So then that is the end of the nature of contract. So I want us to just briefly say a few things about the scope of contract. What are the things we are going to be dealing with in contract? Please, I'd like you to write a few things down, okay? Okay. All right. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So can you hear me, please? All right. So like I'm saying, I just want to be sure you can hear me. Can you hear me? So can you hear me, please? Okay, thank you. So the scope of contracts. We are going to be treating contract formation, one. Number two, it will be nice if you can have some things, you can write a few things down, please. It will help you when you are reading. So number one, under the scope of contract, we are going to be treating one, contract formation. Number two, contract form, the forms of contract. Okay. Number three, we are going to be talking on contractual terms. What are the terms that are always in the contract? The wordings that we use, the way we are meant to couch our contract agreements. Then number four, we are going to be talking about the exclusion of liabilities. the exclusion of liability. There are times that in a contract, you may enter into a contract, let's say, for example, contract that has to do with, there are times you went to a park, you write car park at owner's risk, you know, all those things we are going to be treating, things like that. Then we are going to be treating vitiating elements of contract. Those are the things that can actually make a contract not enforceable. Okay? Things that can void a contract, that can make a contract of no importance, that you cannot take such a contract that does not have backing of the law eventually. We are going to be treating mistake, we are going to be treating misrepresentation and all illegality of contracts and all. And also we are going to be treating vitiating elements. Akinwumi is asking of what elements? I mean the vitiating elements of the things that can vitiate a contract, the things that can make a contract unenforceable. And I said mistake can make a contract unenforceable. Okay, vitiating, V-I-T-I-A-T-I-N-G, vitiating elements. Let me see if I can write it on the chat here. Oh, okay. Vitiating elements. Someone got it. So then that's number 5. So number 6, we are going to be talking about discharge. How you can be discharged from a contract. And that is mostly, it normally happens. We have lots of ways where contracts can be discharged. Number 1, it can be discharged by both parties doing their own part, you know, when you know, like we said, we have promise on both sides. When both parties have done what is expected of them. You want to buy a phone of 20,000, you made the payment, the phone has been given to you in good condition, then such a contract has been executed and parties can be allowed to be discharged. There are some other elements that can form a discharge. Frustration, maybe, no, it's not VC, it's vitiating, it's T, V-I-T-I, not C, it's T, T for table, vitiating elements, okay? V-I-T-I-A-T-I-N-G, okay? All right, so then we are then going to talk about, yes, beautiful, Victoria spelled it right. That's beautiful. Then we'll talk about vitiating element, the discharge. Then we are going to talk about remedies. There are times, like the lady I said, oh, like gentle, the classmate that I said went to buy a pen and paid, but the pen wasn't given to me. Then it needs remedy. Then we are going to be talking about remedies. What are remedies? Remedies can come in form of a lot of things. In the ways that you can be, you can find peace at the end of it all. Okay, it can come in form of damages. It can come in form of injunction. It can come in form of specific performance. Number 3 in the scope of contract, we talk about the objectivity of a contract. The objectivity, the objective standard. That's the number 3. Okay, so you said I should recall it. Please don't take me back, guys. All right, I'll recall it for the last time. Number 1, contract form. Number 1, we are going to be treating contract formation. Number 2, contract form. Number 3, contractual terms. Number 4, exclusion of liabilities. Number 4, I've spelled it already. Get it from your classmate. Vitiating elements. V-I-T-I-A-T-I-N-G. Number 6, discharge. And number 7, we are going to be treating remedies. But before we treat these things, we need to talk about the classification of contracts. We need to talk about classification of contracts. How do we classify contracts? Classification of contracts. Yes. Contract formation, contract form, exclusion. Yes, yes. That's for. Then I hope you got the other ones too. Then let's talk about classification. At this point, can I go ahead? I want to start. Yes, beautiful. Thank you, Akiwumi. All right then. So let's talk about classification of contracts. There are different ways of classifying contracts, But then I want us to start from number one, formal and simple contracts. Formal and simple contracts. Formal and simple contracts. Remember, you can also come in through the YouTube channel. Please ensure that you do that immediately. All right. Okay. So let's talk about classification. Number one, we are talking about the formal and the simple contract. What is some formal contract and what is simple contract? A formal contract is a written contract. A formal contract is a written contract. Yes. A formal contract is a written contract. Is a written contract that is made by deed. It's a written contract that is made by deed. Let me explain what a deed is. A deed is always a legal instrument. We normally see it when it comes to land, the transfer of landed property. And I'm sure a few of you would have seen it in tenancy agreements. But mostly it is very, very important when it comes to the transfer of property. All right. So a deed is a special legal document. It is a special legal document. And it is commonly known as agreement paper. A lot of the times in the normal human balance, you always hear people say, oh, agreement. Yes, the link has been dropped earlier. The link has been dropped. I have dropped the link with your the class rep. I hope I can see this link here because a lot of you had. Let me see if I can go and pick and drop there. It's still. So I have dropped the link again. All right. Have you gotten the link? Okay. So, like I'm saying, I said in a normal, in a normal, I won't call you a layman, I won't say, but I will say like other people call it agreement paper. You hear, oh, they signed the agreement paper. So that is what we mean by a formal contract. It's normally a formal contract, like when it comes to transfer of property. Now, that paper is always signed, sealed, and delivered. We normally call it signed, sealed, and delivered. All right. What it means is that it must not be signed by the hand. Then a seal will have been sticked on it. Normally, we used to have a special seal. People normally have their special seal, but now you can just use a red circled paper like this now that people actually use as a seal. And most of the times, it's good that it's being delivered so that the other party will have a copy of such. So a unique significance of a formal contract is that it is enforceable by the party in whose favor it is executed, even if he has not furnished consideration. Now, as we are going on, we'll be able to talk about consideration. Consideration means things that you have to lose in order to get something. Mostly it comes in form of money, but then there are other means of consideration, all right? But mostly you can only see it in form of money. There's the link. I just sent a link to you, Mustafa. I just sent a link to you. So I hope you can always go back and check. All right, like I'm saying now. Okay, let me go back and say that again. A unique significance of the formal contract is that it is enforceable by the party in whose favor it is executed, even if he has not furnished consideration. Somebody mentioned signature. It must have been signed by all the parties. All the parties are meant to sign a formal agreement. Okay? All right. So again, okay. So again, like I just mentioned, that it must, that even if there is no consideration, a formal agreement most of the times is always enforceable in contract. I'm sure like you know what consideration is. Consideration has to do with the money that you have to part with. You know, you want to buy a property, you must have parted with some money before you actually will be given the property and before you can be said to have enforced, for law to enforce that contract for you. But then I don't know if you're asking a question in your mind that how then can you say there will be a formal contract without consideration? What of the places of gifts? You know, a few people nowadays, some parents nowadays, they tend to leave property, they tend to share their property before they die. I don't understand you, Yetunde. Please come again and do better with, you know. So like I'm saying, okay. So like I'm saying, in the place of a gift, some parents nowadays, they would prepare a deed of agreement, like that, stating that the name of the parents, we are going to be taking attendance on both channels, don't worry. It will be sent over there and it will be sent here, all right? So everybody can participate and everybody will be able to sign the attendance. Because like you know, the attendance is very important. All right. So in place of a gift like that, you don't really have to pay your daddy money before your daddy can give you gifts. So your daddy a parent can always draft an agreement that I'm giving this person a plot of land at this person as a deed, as a gift. That doesn't, but in the future, in case a family member comes up and say, oh, no, then you can come with the agreement to the court. Oh, my lord, this is the copy of agreement that my dad gave to me. By that doing, then such an agreement will be enforced, even when you didn't pay any money, all right? So I hope you understood what we mean by formal agreements now. So then, all other agreements, yes, all right, without consideration. So I want you to then, after we have worked on formal agreements, all other contracts other than formal agreements can be classified as simple or informal contracts. All other agreements, all other contracts that is not written, is not formally spelled out, can be referred to as simple agreement or informal agreement. So we call them simple agreements because they are not in any solemn or special form. They are not in any kind of special form. They are not sealed, they are not signed, they are not delivered, they are not in any paper form or something. It doesn't mean that other agreement cannot be in paper form, but then it may not have been sealed. then it may not have been signed, all right? But then it can still be seen as a contract, all right? So they may be in writing, they may be oral. It doesn't really, you don't really have to enter into a writing before. You don't have to write the contract down before you say, oh, I've entered into a contract. It might be oral. Okay? Let's say you went to Yaba Market to purchase a pair of glass or a pair of shoe. You could just meet with the vendor, price it, pay the amount, then you get your shoes. In that case, remember that you've not made any formal agreement. There's nothing written down. There's nothing signed. There's nothing sealed. But then it is still a contract because all the ingredients of a contract will be found in it. There's an offer. There's an acceptance. There's consideration. There's intention to buy that property, to buy that, to enter into a legal relation, to say, oh, whatever happens here, I'm going to be make liable if this thing is not, if I paid money that is, if maybe you pay by check, and that check bounced, that person can always come back to hold you liable in the courts. Even if that contract is not written, you went to Ted Show Market, you went to buy a pair of shoe, you bought the shoe, you did transfer, but at the end of the day, the money wasn't actually transferred. You know, at times, bank does some things that they will always send the money back to you. But thank God you left your phone number and your address with that person. And the person called you and you are saying, no, this, that. In that case, that person can always hold you and take you to court. All right. Even if it is not written down, you have the issues with you. So you cannot go back on your promises. All right. So then let's go to the next one. Now we have explained formal and simple contract. Is that okay? Are we on course? Are we on the same page? I'm not getting any chat. Are we on the same page? Okay. So let's then move on to express and implied contracts. What are express and what are implied contracts? It's another way of analyzing it. Okay. Another way of analyzing or classifying contracts. The first way, we said you can classify contract by saying it's formal or it is simple. Another way you can classify it is that you can say it is express or it is implied. We have express contract or implied contract. What are express contracts? What are implied contracts? So, another way of analyzing contract is in considering them as either express or when the terms are, that is when the terms are clearly stated. If you say a contract is express, that means the terms of the contract are expressly stated. Oh, you are going to sell this phone for me, but it must be a Samsung phone. It must have memory card on it. Those are terms that are expressly stated. Not that the one that you say, oh, but this person knows that I'm a pink girl, didn't get a pink colored phone for me. No, that is not expressly stated. So we can say a contract is an express contract if the terms of the contract are expressly stated. Now, you can say that they are implied contracts when the terms are not expressly stated. All right. Okay. You said I'm too fast and I'm trying to be slow. But in the process of trying to be slow, I want to ensure that I cover up my work. So it won't be like I'll say you should go and read up. So I want you to please also be listening attentively. Okay. So what are express contracts? Express contracts are contracts whose terms are clearly stated. What are terms of contract? Like I said earlier, if you said, I want to buy a pencil, I want a blue pencil that is already sharpened. Those are express terms. Now, if the person now brings a pen that is not sharpened for you, that is not color blue, then you can sue such a person to court. You can hold such a person liable for infringement. All right. So those are terms that are expressly stated. They said it by way of mouth or by writing it down. All right. Then I said, what are implied contract? I said implied contract are contract whose terms are not expressly stated. Okay. So in an express contract, the extent of the respective obligation of both of the offerer and the offeree are clearly stated either orally or by writing. So what I mean in essence is that in an express contract, the parties can either enter into state clearly what their obligations and their duties are going to be in that contract, either by writing it down or by saying it orally. Okay, either by writing it down or by saying it orally. So the unique advantage of express contract is that, especially when it is written, is that parties can always refer back to that document. Okay, if a contract is expressly written down, parties can always go back to it and say, oh, that means you have a document to buttress and to back up your claims. All right. That is one of the very, very good advantage of it. So a good example is where tenders are, let's say, for example, you are a contractor. What you do is that you supply excuse me. What you do is that maybe you supply toiletries as a business person. So you approach a company, they have a tender, they issued a tender that they like suppliers of toiletries, you know. So what is required of these suppliers is that people then send, most of the times in the tender, they will have listed what they want you to send, or how much you want to sell these items, how much will you be selling. On that thing, you have already written on your own paper, on your own document, the name of my company is this, we do this, we sell toiletries this way, this way, this way, this way. The company can always refer back to it. You yourself, you also have a copy in the nearest future if you were actually chosen and in the future something comes up, you can always fall back to whatever you had written down in your tender sheet, which would support your claims in court in the case where the company infringes on your rights. So that's express contract. What are implied contracts? So, excuse me, please. So I'm back. I hope I'm back. You can hear me clearly. So what are implied contracts? Implied, please, did you get the express contracts? Did you get my explanation? Okay. So what are implied contracts? Okay. Implied contract is one where the terms are not stated either orally or in writing. The facts are not stated orally and is not even stated in writing. Those are implied contract. For example, you as a student, you went to Salado, or you went to Shop 7. I know Shop 7 is always a better, or because they sell cheaper. You went to Shop 7, you sat down. You sat down, and actually they served you. Oh, wait, let me use this. Let me just use this. A customer enters into a shop, okay, and sees a shirt. That one is more explanatory for me. He sees a shirt and he sees a price tag on the shirt. They must have written what the price is on the shirt. And you picked it up, you went to the cashier collects the money from you, packs the items, and you left. Do you notice that the only thing that you could say that was actually written was only the price? Every other thing, whether it is pink, whether it is size 100, but it is you are the one that made all that inquiry all by yourself. You didn't ask with mouth. You know where to go to. You know what to look for. All right? That is an implied contract. All right. Even if I want to use the Shop 7 example, let's say, for example, you went into Shop 7. Even if you did not order, but maybe they know what you order a lot of times. They gave you pounded yam, or they gave you fufu vegetable. They added one turkey, and this their fish that is like 1,000 naira, they added it for you. And you finish eating it. And you are not telling them, but I did not request for it, or I did not do this for you, but you ate it. It is impliedly stated that this is what you normally eat, and we gave you what you normally eat. You cannot say, oh, no, I did not ask for it. Did I ask? No. It is impliedly stated. So that is an implied contract. Please, did you get me? Did you get me? I want us to move on. Did you get me? Are we on course? Thank you, guys. So then, that is the second way where you can classify contract. We are going to the third way of classifying contract. Contract can be bilateral or unilateral. A contract can be bilateral or it can be unilateral. Okay? You can say a contract is bilateral when there is exchange of promises. Where there's exchange of promises, that means Mr. A wants to buy a phone from Mr. B. Mr. B will be collecting the sum of 20,000 naira. Okay? That is an exchange of promises. This person will give this the phone, that person will give the other the money. That is an exchange of promise. In a bilateral contract, both parties have outstanding obligations which they must perform under the contract. They both have obligations to perform under the contract. Okay? We can also use this we can also say you went to Computer Village. The man in the shop is the seller. You who went to the shop, you are the buyer. Now, we can call the seller the promisor, and we can call the buyer the promisee. The buyer promisor, the seller promisee. It can also go vice versa. The buyer can be a promisor, and the buyer can also be, and the seller can be the promisee, because there is a two-way traffic. Somebody is doing something, the other is also doing something. All right? But then there are some contracts that are unilateral. Please, can someone give me an example of what a unilateral contract is? A unilateral, I've mentioned something of sort. I've mentioned what something like that. That is a contract that somebody is only doing the obligation. The other is not doing any obligation, but it is a contract. I'll give the person candy, online candy. I'm expecting you. There is no contribution. I'm still expecting you. Yes. In the case of Kalin and Kabole, yes. In the case of a trustee, beautiful. Yes, in case of a gift as well. Thank you very much. God bless you guys. You are doing well. So then let's use that case of Kali Kabuli. You know, there are always some cases of reward that we are looking for, okay, we are looking for a suitcase, or we are looking for a gold chain. Whoever finds it, we are going to give him something, something. Look at that. You are only finding it. Yes, it's involved just one person doing the performing the obligation. You will only find it. It's when you can only find it and somebody will be giving you money. Okay. So I think we are on course. Thank you guys. You are doing well. So that is bilateral and unilateral form of classifying contract. Then let us look at the fourth way of classifying contract. We can classify contracts by saying executed or executory contract. The contract can be executed and it can be executory. Executed and it can be executory. What is an executed contract? Who can give us an example of executed contract? Like I said, I can give you online candy. I'm that generous. An example of executed contract. Or what is executed contract? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. I quickly had to, power has been disrupted, so I have to switch to my mobile line. Okay, can we go on? Can we go ahead? Okay then. So like I was saying, executed and executory contract. So an executed contract, I was trying to explain. Look, I think a few people have been explaining. Thank you. So an executed contract. Let me just say it as it is. An executed contract is contract that they did all the both parties performed their role and everything was done. All that is needed to be done was done and papers were signed. Okay. Who is going to take our attendance now? It's time to take attendance, please. Yes, I Koleola, you asked for the material. Like I said, go to the library. You will see the textbook in the library. Pick up the textbook and read it up. Okay? Pick up the textbook, read it up. You can also buy the textbook for future reference because you want it or not. In life, everything in life, if you are going to be dealing with people, mostly to be on contract. And in that textbook, you have a lot of things on commercial transactions that would really help you. Okay, so the class rep, I want the class rep to let me know that they've started taking the attendance now. Please, I need your chat to tell me, oh, I'm about to start or I've started taking the attendance or I've sent the form. So I'm waiting. Who is saying that? Okay, so last person has sent it, everyone. Fill it on time before I go off the grid again because this network may fluctuate. It's not the phone network, the school network is still reliable, unlike these mobile networks. Okay. All right. So let me keep explaining and let's explain what executed contract. Like I said earlier, is when both parties had done their various performed their various promises, performed what they need to perform, and as well there is no duty left for either of the parties to perform. Then in that scenario, you can say it's executed. The contract has been executed. But when it comes to executory, there are some contracts that you need to wait for a further date for such contract to be executed. Let's say, for example, in case of maybe you want to buy a car and or you want to get a phone, a car is even too much. Although I'm not saying you guys are too little, you are too young to get a car. I'm just saying, oh, let's be feasible now. Let's say you want to get a phone. You can get a phone. I think there are some companies where you can get a phone on credit. On their part, they would have given the phone to you, but on your part, you are yet to finish the payment. So you'll be making the payment installmentally. So that is what is called executory. You are yet to perform your own side of the contract, or you are still performing it. All right. That is executory. So let me just, if you want to, if you write a few things down. Formation of contract must be distinguished from performance of the contract. Okay. So we are yet to do formation. We are going to be doing formation next. So this is just performance of contract. So contract which have been fully performed are referred to as executed. Simple as that. Contract which has been fully performed are regarded as executed contract. Okay. And contract which have been okay. While those that are partially performed, while those that are partially performed or totally unperformed are known as executory. Let's say, for example, you want to buy that phone. There's some company, they won't give you that phone until you have finished making your payment. So you could just enter in their company and say, oh, I want to buy a phone, but I'll start commence payment next month. Okay. They may not have given you the phone. Okay. You would not have started making the payment, but then you have gotten to their office. You may have filled some forms. That means a contract has started, but then it is executory. Either party hasn't done anything. All right. So that is executory contract. To this extent, did you get what I just said? Are we on the same page? Can I go ahead? Are you guys filling the form? Only. Please listen. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's treat the last part of these parts of classification. We can also classify contract by saying valid contract. That's number 5. A contract can either be a valid contract, can either be a void contract, it can also be a voidable contract, and it can also be an unenforceable contract. What do we mean if we say a contract is valid? What we mean is that the both parties, all the things, all the elements that are meant to be in a contract are there present. All the ways that a contract are intended to be formed was formed properly. Then in that case, you can say this contract is valid. All right. So a valid contract contains all the elements of a contract, and it is free from any legal defect or infirmity. All right. And those things, that means it is enforceable in court. You have done all the things that needed to be done. What do we mean if we say that's the A part of it? The B part of it, void contract. What do we mean if we say a contract is void? It means that there is no contract at all in the eye of the law. Although there may be tangible evidence of an attempt to form a contract, but there's nothing that the law will see as being a contract. Let's say, for example, where thugs, they are contracted to, maybe during the political tussle, during the election period, maybe party A agreed with a set of thugs that they should go and harass the other party. Oh, this thug will talk, so I want you to go and harass the other party. When you when you harass them, I'm going to give you the sum of 5 million naira. But they end up not harassing them, or they actually went and do the job, and they came back to the politician, and the politician is saying, no, I don't have money for you. The court cannot enforce that in court because it's an illegal contract. It is wrong. It's not a contract that the court can enforce. So it is void. That's a void contract. Number C part of it, which is voidable contract. Yes, you are right. Voidable contract. Salako, you are right. Voidable contract. Okay. You said someone said I should repeat the explanation of valid contract. I'm telling you, this class, if I didn't finish, you're going to read up. I pray that you'll be able to get this thing. Valid contract means contract which all the elements that is expected to be in a contract is there in. That is valid. All the elements, and it is also legal. It's not something that is not illegal. All right. That is valid. Let's go to the C part of it. Voidable contract. Voidable contract. Voidable contract is a contract when it has some legal defect. It has some legal defect which entitles the innocent party to set aside the contract, or alternative, overlook if it reaches. Now, you can say a contract is voidable. Maybe there's a little legal defect on the contract. let me overlook this little fault and go ahead with that. Or no, please, I cannot overlook it. Oh. You either give me something in replacement, okay, or not. So if the contract, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Okay, like I was saying, so sorry. Like I said, ordinarily, a voidable contract is binding. A voidable contract is binding, but it gives one of the party the right to set it aside. So it remains binding until it is set aside. That is, if the innocent party is now saying, come, I cannot forgo this thing, I will have to go to the court. Then the court can then set aside the contract and say that, oh, this contract did not exist. It is not invalid. Be reminded, it is not void. It is not a bad contract. It is just voidable. It is voidable in the sense that there are some legal defects in it, but the person who is at the receiving end, who is the innocent party, whose right has been breached, the person can decide to say, oh, don't worry, let's just go ahead with the contract. And the person can also say, oh, no, I can't go ahead with that. All right. That is a voidable contract. Are you okay with that, or you want me to give you an example? I think I've even given you an example. But are you okay? Can I go ahead so that we can actually achieve something very good today? Okay, I should give you an example. Can you hear me, please? Can you hear me? Okay, so I want to give you the example. Let's assume you want to buy a phone, and there's an agreement. You both agree that this phone you want to give to me is going to be a Samsung phone. It is going to be a Samsung phone. But this person then came back. Please excuse me, okay? Excuse me. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm back. Quadri wants the attendance list. Kindly oblige him with it, please. Okay, please, can you hear me, people? Okay, like the example I'm giving you. So you got you agree that's going to be a Samsung phone. But the person came back. Is there any other phone that you can say has the same standard like, oh, let's look Infinix and Techno. Let's not use Samsung because I may not have something that is equal to that. So you want to buy an Infinix phone. You told the person it's going to be an Infinix phone. But the person then that you want an Infinix phone and the person collected the money and left. But the person came back, I mean the vendor came back with a Techno phone. And with a Techno phone, okay? In fact, that too is too long. I want you to, is there a way you can reduce the time? It should end in the next 6 minutes. Oh, the taking of attendance will end in the next
in the next 6 minutes. In the next 6 minutes, we'll stop taking attendance. In the next 6 minutes, we'll stop taking attendance, okay? All right. So in that case, remember that the product is now different, though the same phone. The products, I asked for an Infinix phone. You are then giving me a Techno phone. All right. So the purchaser can either say, no, please, I want that money back. I'm not going into this contract again. Or can say, there's really no much difference between Infinix and Techno. Don't worry, I'll go ahead with it. But if that person, you cannot force the person to say, oh, you must take this Samsung phone, this Infinix. You cannot, this Techno, you cannot. It will be at the free acceptance of the person whose right is being infringed on. All right. So if that person says we can go ahead, then it becomes a valid contract. But if that person says no, it is called a voidable contract. Then the court can set it aside. The court can say, oh, this person is not interested, contract cannot go ahead again. All right. It is voidable. That is, it is something that can be made void, but it is not void already. You can make it void by saying no. You can make it valid by saying yes. I'll go ahead with it. I hope you've been able to get me. So let's quickly run with unenforceable contract. What are unenforceable contracts? The fact, the things that can make a contract unenforceable most of the times has to do with legal effects, legal defects. Okay, factors such as fraud. A contract is unenforceable if it fails to meet a formal requirements, such as if you say you want if the law is saying now, generally, let me say generally, and I hope with this, you cannot make this mistake again, even in the future, outside of this class. Every agreement that has to do with landed property, if you want to sell a property, if you want to buy a property, it must be properly documented. There must be a deed of agreement. If there is no deed of agreement, such a contract will not be enforceable. I repeat, such a contract will not be enforceable. If you want to buy a landed property and there is no, you made a payment and they did not give you money, they did not give you the property. Although the court, remember that the last time you've been taught law of equity. Am I right? Yes or no? You've been taught law of equity. That is sources of law. Equity. I want a yes or no. Nobody is answering me. Aha, thank you. Someone say yes. So under the law of equity, equity may come to your head. But then under the normal law, under common law, a contract must, when it comes to landed property, buying, selling of land property, in fact, lease and rent most of the times too, it has to be documented. It has to be in deed. If it's not in deed, it is unenforceable, although the law may come to your rescue by means of equity. And that's the end of classification of contracts. That is the end of the classification of contracts. So can I go ahead? We want to treat formation of contracts. Formation of contracts. Yes, equity means fairness. Thank you, Abigail. Let's treat, can we go ahead with my work? Are you okay now? You now know what unenforceable contracts are. So I want to go to contract formation. What are contract formation? I want a yes or no. Can I go ahead? Are you okay? Are we on the same page? All right. So at this point, I would like us to hold on to the class today. Thank God we've been able to introduce the class and we've got to classification, we've done scope, we've done the definition part, and we've done the principle and the nature of the law of contract. So next time we are going to be going in depth of this law of contract, which we are going to be talking about all the scope that I listed. So that will be in our next class. And I hope you come prepared and attentive so that we can conclude next class. I pray that will be possible. Someone wants to ask a question. Yeah, quickly type your question. Do that on time, please. You have a question, quickly type it. Also, I'll be giving you my email address. You can send your contract or your question to my email address. So I can be answering that before now. Okay? Let me give you my email address. So that is my email address. You can send your questions to me. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm trying to, someone has a question that if a contract is drawn by two people that there is no lawyer in it, that can that contract be enforceable? That is it a legal contract? I'm trying to look at this question again. I want to be sure that I get what she wrote. Okay. Oh, you get a question again. That it is a contract. It is a contract. Uh-huh. It is a contract, remember, if it has all the elements of contract in it. If you and your friend you sat down together to draw a contract, yes, you can always draw a contract. The reason why a lawyer is very important for you as a learned person is because everything is not just about writing. Under the law, as a lawyer, I know the substantive laws. What is this law saying on tax? What is this law saying on sales of goods? What is this law saying on contracts? I know all of that. A lawyer will be able to detect. There are some people, especially when you are dealing with agents, they may be dicey and all. A lawyer will see a lot of things that you will not see. But then I want you to take it. It is very important for a lawyer to draft a deed of agreement for you. Even if a lawyer will not draft anything, a deed of agreement is extremely important for a lawyer to draft it. But then when it comes to simple contract, it doesn't really have to be a lawyer. But the thing is, a lawyer knows the ingredients. A lawyer knows what should be there. So that if in the future anything happens, you will be well assured that all your I's has been dotted and all your T's has been crossed. Okay, and that will be the end of our class. Please, class rep, let me have the submitted attendance. Have a blessed day, guys. And that's the end of our class. Bye. Okay, the name of the recommended test, please, class rep, send it to them. Somebody came to my office today. Kindly send it to them. Okay, bye.